Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. In today's video, we'll be covering who is the best captain for game week 1. In the video, I've selected 5 players that we're going to look through who you could give the armband to for the first game week. If you do enjoy the video, then please like, comment and subscribe to the channel as we're trying to hit 400 subs before the start of the season. I think we're like 5 away from 350 as well, so if we can hit that milestone as soon as possible, that would be absolutely amazing. But without further ado, let's dive into our 5 potential captains for game week 1. And to start off today's video, of course, my number 1 pick for captain this game week was going to be last year's highest point scorer. It is Mohamed Salah at Fulham. Last season was absolutely terrific at the start of the year and kind of faded away when he came back from AFCON and obviously the World Cup qualifier with Egypt, and that's probably just a mental strain, a physical strain that he was under come kind of the second half of the year. But this year he's back, he's looking good, obviously off the back of scoring a penalty against Manchester City in the Community Shield as well. He's going to be the most captain player for game week 1 is Mohamed Salah, and it's a real no-brainer and a real easy pick. He's obviously playing a newly promoted team away, first game of the season. Liverpool, one of the best attacks in the league as well. It's a real no-brainer. Last season, Salah took on a newly promoted Norwich side in game week 1 and got 1 goal and 2 assists. And the season before that, Salah scored a hat-trick against a newly promoted Leeds. Salah hasn't even blanked in a single game week 1 fixture since joining the Premier League. He's absolutely on fire when it comes to game week 1. He always starts the season brilliantly, and Fulham away should be no exception. On the caveat though, something that I did find rather interesting while doing my research into the captains for this week, Mohamed Salah has never ever scored against Fulham in the Premier League. So there's something, maybe if you haven't got Salah in your team or are potentially going to look at one of the other captains included in today's video, there is your little fact that can kind of ease your mind and maybe pick a different captain. But with that in mind, let's take a look at some of the other potential captains we could look at for game week 1. Moving on to my second favourite pick is another strong contender for the armband in game week 1. It is Spurs' Harry Kane. Looks very much rejuvenated since the arrival of Conte and will definitely get a really good start against Southampton in game week 1. Kane has a superb record against the Saints, playing 18 games, getting 11 goals and 8 assists, with Harry Kane's best game against them coming in the 2021 season where he scored 1 goal and assisted 4 in that game. Obviously, Harry Kane has been absolutely killing it in pre-season as well. 5 goals for him in 3 games. He's currently, at the time of recording as well, playing a match against Roma. So just make sure he gets out of that fixture all safe and well. Who knows? He could have added to his already amazing pre-season record. Looks very good, as do Spurs coming into this season. And Antonio Conte, he's going to be up there as our Spurs this season for a potential title charge, and one of the key figures within their team is Harry Kane. Obviously, Haaland did play a full 90 minutes as well in the Community Shield. Didn't look up to scratch, and I think that will lean to more people potentially switching to Harry Kane. At the moment, team selected by 22.8%. But I imagine with Haaland's awful miss doing the rounds on social media this evening, that ownership is going to absolutely skyrocket. Last season, 37 games, 17 goals, 11 assists. Didn't start the season well last year due to kind of the involvement with City and Nuno's kind of dull and dire tactics. But this year should be a different kettle of fish and is my second favourite captain for this game week. If you haven't got Salah in your team, or if you are looking for a little bit of a differential in terms of captaincy picks, Harry Kane against Southampton, really good record. I like the fixture. I like the way Spurs are playing at the moment and definitely would recommend him for the armband. But let's move on to our next pick. And continuing with the Spurs theme, we start with last season's joint Golden Boot winner, Heung-min Son. Son obviously had a fantastic year last year, especially the second half of the season. 35 games, 23 goals, 10 assists. Wonderful, wonderful player was Heung-min Son last year. Unfortunately, he wasn't in my team for most of the year, which was disappointing for my rank and absolutely killed me at the end of the season. But again, he's not in my team, but I do believe he is potentially one of the best captaincy options for this week. Like Harry Kane, also has a marvellous record against Southampton. In 15 games, he scored 12 goals and got 5 assists. Similar to Kane, done really well in pre-season, looking very good in terms of the Antonio Conte system. He's a wonderful finisher, wonderful striker of the ball. Southampton as well have a very youthful kind of squad looking at the moment. Obviously a lot of ex-City Academy players have come into the club. Pre-season hasn't gone to plan as well for them, losing a lot of games. They could easily be turned over by Kane and Son in game week 1 and could massively outscore Mohamed Salah. It is a lot of food for thought. Obviously that Southampton game is very, very appetising, especially in terms of captaincy options and especially if you are going without Salah at the start of this game. Son and Kane would be definitely the picks I would be going for. But let's move on to my 4th pick for captaincy for game week 1. And my 4th pick for captaincy for game week 1 is KDB. At the back end of last season, KDB was absolutely smashing it and was an integral part of City's title win. Just come off the back of a defeat though in the Community Shield, but did look one of City's best players. I thought he actually had a really, really good game. Did Kevin De Bruyne obviously kind of played a part in the goal for Manchester City as well, putting a lovely dinked ball to the back post for Phil Foden. Looked on it, looked sharp, but City just didn't look quite at the races, which was a little bit of a concern for me, especially as I've been harping on about Haaland so much within my drafts at the moment. But yeah, City just didn't quite look at the races. KDB has an okay record against West Ham as well. 14 games, 3 goals and 5 assists. Not one of his favoured teams to play against. And in his last 3 appearances has only managed to muster up 1 assist. West Ham are a little bit of a bogey team as well for Manchester City, obviously pulling off that amazing 2-2 draw. They'd love to play on the counter to West Ham against Manchester City, especially with a fresh Antonio and Jarrod Bowen. That is going to be one of the tasty fixtures for game week 1, I am imagining. Obviously, we know how wonderful a player Kevin De Bruyne is, but West Ham away, it's not the greatest fixture. If you do have KDB in your team, I think there are potentially better options for this week. Salah, Son and Kane. But I do like Kevin De Bruyne as a player. I do think he has that explosivity where he can absolutely just explode in a matter of minutes and is a fantastic, wonderful player playing for one of the best attacks in world football at the moment. But yeah, 4th pick for me, especially off the back of how City played today in the Community Shield. Just didn't quite look up to the pace compared to Liverpool. Maybe that's just Liverpool. Maybe everyone else is kind of feeling the fatigue from last season, but who knows? City just not quite at the races for me today, and that is why KDB is quite low on this list. But let's move on to my final pick and someone who's a little bit different. I'm moving on to my 5th and final potential captaincy option for game week 1, and it is Gabriel Jesus, who at the time of recording is currently the most owned player within FPL, and after today's performance against Sevilla, I believe that is just going to continue. He potentially could even hit the 70% mark, obviously having an amazing pre-season since joining Arsenal. Obviously scored 7 goals in 5 games for them, absolutely obliterating the pre-season life. Obviously loving playing up front as well. Obviously last year 8 goals, 8 assists, but did play a large majority of those games out wide. Has an okay record against Crystal Palace. Not great, nothing to write home about. 2 goals, 3 assists in 10 matches. But the real reason I like Jesus as a potential option is the fact that he's been absolutely explosive in pre-season for Arsenal. Hopefully he can continue that into the new season. He's going to be a little bit of a differential. And Crystal Palace, yes, last season were the 4th best defence in the league in terms of expected data. But Palace so far have kind of had to play 2 pre-season tours. They had to go, I think they went out to Australia, and then due to obviously certain players not having certain requirements, couldn't go to other countries, so had to have a pre-season tour in England as well. So the squad was kind of split. So is there going to be kind of that harmony? I don't know. I'm a little bit unsure whether or not Crystal Palace are going to turn up game week 1. I think potentially that split in pre-season camps isn't going to have helped their squad massively in terms of getting everyone up to speed, getting everyone onto the programme. But I will, that could maybe come back to bite me in the arse. But for me, Gabriel Jesus at 8 million and a potential captaincy option, just down to the fact that he's been absolutely killing it since he's joined Arsenal. And he was killing it at the back end for City as well. Obviously, he just looks really, really good. I expect him to be in pretty much everyone's teams, and you potentially could give him the armband. I think he'll do really well against Crystal Palace away in the first game, just down to that fact that I do think that split in pre-season camps is going to have affected Palace massively. Obviously, like I said, one of the best defences last year in terms of expected data, but with that divide amongst players and obviously Vieira not being able to manage the England's, for me, it just kind of alarm bells are a little bit ringing there, and I could potentially see quite a few Arsenal players hauling in game week 1. But yeah, that was the list of my captaincies. Obviously, Mohamed Salah is my number 1 pick and the player that I will be going for game week 1. He's a real no-brainer, loves to score against newly promoted teams, and absolutely loves to return in terms of attacking returns in game week 1 in previous seasons. So yeah, Salah number 1, Kane number 2, Son number 3, KDB number 4, and my differential pick right at the end, Gabriel Jesus. Let me know down in the comments below which player you're going to captain for game week 1. Have I convinced you to potentially move away from Mohamed Salah and maybe take a punt on one of these other players? But yeah, let me know down in the comments below. But like I said, if you have enjoyed today's video, please like, please comment, and please subscribe, as we are trying to hit 400 before the start of the season. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.